Hello and welcome to episode 582 of Fergo and the Freak. I'm that bloke from Rugby League Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRLP. And join me as always is the glorious LeagueFreak. You can also find on Twitter at LeagueFreak. How you going there, mate?
Going well, Andrew. I hope you're doing well as well. And I hope all of our listeners are doing great as well. It's so good to have the footy here now.
It is. It's been a up and down week for this historian anyway, because the footy's come back.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to bum everyone out at the very start of the episode because a friend of mine and a very, very respectable and renowned rugby league historian, Terry Williams, passed away on Friday last week. He was only 62 years old. He wrote two books about the Newtown Jets. One was called Out of the Blue and another one was called Through Blue Eyes. If you ever find them somewhere, absolutely buy them because just like anything Terry Williams did, he did it with passion, vigor, thoroughness, and a phenomenal storyteller. Anyone who's ever been to the Rugby League Museum when it was open will tell you how passionate he was about the stories and stuff there. And you found yourself being unable to pull yourself away from him. And you're like, I could sit here and listen to this bloke talk for hours.
Mm-hmm.
He's just phenomenal. He also produced a phenomenal documentary for the NRL website, which was aired on Fox Sports in 2018 on Anzac Day, called From Headgear to Helmets. And it looked at rugby league players, not just prominent ones, but all of the ones not all of them. A lot of the better known ones, I guess, from around the country who went and served in World War One, and a few stories of others that didn't even play in the big time but had prominent military careers as well. It's like 40 minutes. It's still on the NRL website. I did tweet it on Friday last week, so absolutely, if you haven't seen it, you need to. It's phenomenal. Yeah. And he also had a podcast, which was only in its early days. I think he might have done about eight or nine episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just absolutely passionate about the stuff that happened in the game in the past. It's called Rugby League Rookwood. Go listen to it. Yeah, just phenomenal bloke. Absolutely sad to hear of his passing. Apparently, he was the MC for the Newtown Jets season opener just a few hours before he passed away. So, yeah, very, very sad. Unbelievable human. Between him and Ian Heads, we've lost a lot of rugby league historian knowledge in a very short period of time. So pretty sad that. So Vale Terry Williams, and condolences to his family, his friends, everybody else, because we haven't just lost his story, and we've lost a great human as well. So a bit of sad news there.
Yeah, and I know you had quite a bit to do with him. And, I know he was very pivotal in regards to keeping all of the history at Rugby League headquarters there in Sydney. I only was in touch with him once. It was about 20 years ago when I was trying to track down the Rugby League World Cup for the story that had gone missing. And I got in contact with him. I think I might have rang him up. And he offered for me to come down to, I believe, what was then the New South Wales Rugby League headquarters, because
that's correct. Yeah,
one of the trophies there. And he's like, "Oh, come on down, and you can check it out and stuff like that." There was a vault that they had it in apparently, and I didn't end up doing it as a regret, But he was just so open to it, and that was a long time ago. Like, and you've talked about him to me in the past, and just always had really good things to say about him. And you and me have talked about like the collection that he brought together and kept very safe at Rugby League headquarters there. And I really do think that it would be smart of all of the Rugby League historians, and you included, Andrew, to get together and as a group approach the National Rugby League and say, hey, we need somebody to take over that role. There needs to be someone doing that role, because it's very important, because some of the things that you've told me about, that I know you've been down there and checked it out, some of that stuff should be in a museum of some sort. It is very important. A lot of it's over a century old, and he looked after it, and somebody needs to do that job going
he also
forward.
sourced a lot of it.
Yeah.
Just he dedicated his life to that craft. That's how passionate he was about it, and you could tell anyone who ever spoke to him will tell you the same thing. Like, he was just so generous with his time, with his knowledge, very kind, amusing and witty man. He was also very passionately behind the Tom Brock lectures. Just anything to do with helping anybody get an understanding or further their knowledge of the history of the game. He was 100% behind it and really passionate about it. I've been to the Rugby League Museum a ton of times just to catch up with him, and always got dragged out the back. And I say dragged, like I was very willingly dragged out the back to the stuff he had at the back to check out what he had out there, and it was phenomenal. You just look at it and going, how much of this stuff can I take home?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a big loss. You don't replace people like Terry Williams.
No,
you just don't. But sadly, we do need to move on because that's what rugby league does.
Yep.
The round 1 game started this week. We had 2 games kick off in Vegas. I know that they played because I made a comment online about a ball being raked.
Yeah, it's starting to cause trouble on Twitter again. I try and stop you, but you just keep doing it.
I'm both a dickhead and I'm right.
Yeah.
So, social media is still on fire.
It's fantastic, isn't it? So good to be back.
It's back. It's back. I wouldn't say good, but it's back. I was just looking at it going, you know what? There was a time when I used to go through it and just going, yeah, this is conversation. I don't care what happens. And I still have that mentality, but I'm looking at it and just going, can I be fucked with dealing with this shit anymore?
Look, I would like to say the same thing, but to be honest, I'm like Alexander the Great. I'm down there in the middle of it, slaying dragons and shit. I can't pretend that I don't have anything to do with it. Like, so, To
be honest, there's 2 trenches, right?
Yeah.
And there's, the team on this side and the team on that side. And you've decided to put yourself on a little parapet right in the middle.
Yeah. I'm like looking at one side going, fuck you, and turning around saying, but especially fuck you. So, yeah, I can't pretend that I'm not involved in the scraps.
That's where you ply your trade.
Yeah. I'm good at it. What can I say? Look, there are 2 games that started the NRL season. We had the Cowboys taking on the Knights. The Knights looked pretty good, but the Cowboys looked pretty average. Todd Payton, I thought they should have sacked him at the end of last year. This team that he has, it's got a lot of rep quality players in it, but they just keep degrading slowly under his coaching. And I tweeted actually before this game kicked off that I think he's probably got about 6 weeks to get it under control and make them look better. And this was a really bad start to that 6 weeks. So the Knights looked pretty good. They looked up for it. So that was the 2 interesting points out of that game. For the second game.
Well, actually, I was just going to say, the one thing that Todd Payton has done, which is a feather in his cap, is that John Bateman didn't play.
Yeah, that's true.
So he's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, that's true. But they still looked like shit, and Newcastle scored 28 points.
Well, that's right. And look, I've said it in a bunch of articles, and we might have even said in the season preview episode that the Cowboys are a team which, on paper, look like they should be doing reasonably well. I wouldn't say great, but you watch them playing football and you just look at it, and even as someone who's not a Cowboys fan, you just look at it and the whole time you just feel angry, like, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah. It's crazy.
To let the worst Knights team and possibly the second or third worst Knights attacking unit in their history put 28 points on you.
It's a shocker.
That's not good.
Yeah. The second game we saw the Bulldogs take on the Dragons. The thing that got me for this game is 2 things stood out for me. First of all, the Dragons Their attack is so simplistic. It's not going to last the whole season. They're going to wear down because it's basically just get the ball, run up the middle of the field with it with their forwards. Their forwards are going to wear down over the course of the season. They get zero out of their halves. Atkinson was trying his best, but next to him he's got the coach's son who did nothing in this game. Absolutely nothing. Might as well have not turned up.
I will say that it's a good thing. I don't know if Flanagan did it by mistake, but he put Atkinson at 7, which I suggested at the start of the year needed to happen. I think if you're going to get anything at all out of Flanagan, you cannot have him at halfback because to coin a phrase, he shits the bed every time he touches the ball as a halfback. At least when he's at 5'8", he doesn't get it as often, so there's less shit in the bed.
He was just so terrible in this game. And then
that is the most optimistic thing I could ever say about Cole Flanagan's performance.
Yeah. And then on the other side of the field, the Bulldogs looked pretty clunky. And, they looked like a team that had 2 5'8s out there. Lockie Galvin was probably the more dominant playmaker of the two, but he's a ball runner. And the problem that I see them having this year is that they're going to have a pretty solid year. They just are. But I think that they're going to get to the finals against the elite teams in the finals, and they're going to be able to shut them down because they don't have a designated halfback. You got 2 running 5'8s, and when something goes wrong, their instinct is to run the ball. And I think that that's going to be a problem for the Bulldogs. This game shouldn't have been as close as it was. The Bulldogs are a much better team on paper. We got into
I was going to say, though, but since the middle of last season, the Bulldogs' attack has not been that great.
I know.
The Dragons' attack has been pedestrian and one-dimensional the whole of last year.
Yeah.
It's a Shane Flanagan trait. He only knows one type of football, and that's grinding football. And if you've got a really strong forward pack and good defensive centres, you can make the grinding football work. If you don't have that, it's boring and pedestrian, and you end up losing more games than you win, which is what he's stuck with at the moment. And this is a squad that he built now. So,
it's his team, yeah. The Dragons should have won this game many times over. They had field position. The game started going their way late. They had a lot of good chances in Golden Point to win it. And because they don't have a halfback, they didn't win it. And that's what it come down to. And, what can you say? It's just that this is the same thing that's going to happen at the Dragons until such time as they get rid of Flanagan. And look, the coach, Shane Flanagan as the coach, he's probably thinking, I'll do the same thing I did at Cronulla, but he's missing one real big key element that made that Sharks team really good. I don't know the chemical name of it, but he hasn't got that here, and so it's not going to work out.
I think it's X.
So who knows?
It's an X factor.
Yeah, the X factor.
The X factor.
It's so crazy when you look back, and it's like how it was just so obvious. But anyway,
interesting thing about this game: 3 5'8s and no halfback in it.
Yeah, it's a very good point. It's a very good point. It kind of looked like it too.
And you could probably almost argue it had 4 5'8s if you throw in Gutherson.
I tell you what, Gutherson's defense in this game, you know what he looked like? He looked like an old footballer who had retired for 2 years and then come back and played fullback. He defensively was as bad as I've ever seen him. That was shocking. Like players just waltzing past him. Terrible.
Well, so this thing, I think it would be. I still think he actually has some value in attack. Right, defensively, he's never been good, like positionally or technique-wise. And you can't have something like that at fullback because it means that you're not there when a kick comes in. That sort of thing. I think you would fix a lot of the Dragons' attack, not all of it, and you can't make this one look that much better. But I think their attack would look so much better if you put Gutherson at 6 next to Atkinson, and you put Holmes at fullback.
Yeah,
I'm going to stick with that, but they're not going to do it.
Look, you could could get like a border collie and put a jersey on it and replace and put them in the side instead of Kyle Flanagan, and you would improve that team.
But you could just take Cole Flanagan out, let them play with 12 on the field, and you'd improve the team.
Yeah, there's just one less set of hands that does nothing. So, yeah, terrible. I also watched the Super League game. It was a walkover, but I'll have a lot more to say about that bullshit.
Well, I mean, we can jump into it now. I mean, that's a good segue.
Well, look, we want to sell this to the United States, and the first show that we put on are these terrible contests between Super League clubs. This game was over after 20 minutes, and the funny thing was that I was like, well, next year we need to just send 3. We need to have 3 NRL games. That seems to be the obvious thing to do. And I had all of these people saying, well, the English clubs bring all the fans. And I'm thinking to myself, what fucking bizarro world are we living in where we're talking about English rugby league fans turning up to games over what NRL? Like, can you imagine saying, no, we don't need the Storm. We don't need the Eels. We don't need the Broncos. Like, we need to send some little town team from Northern England because they're the big key for this whole event.
So can I ask?
Yeah.
As you are the resident expert on English rugby league.
Yeah.
Because that's just fact.
Yeah. Look, my track record speaks for itself.
100%. If they believe that the English game brings the fans in, are these the same fans that were complaining about having to travel to a different part of England, like the southern part of England, to watch games?
That's
the same ones who don't like traveling to France to watch games over there and didn't like going over to Toronto?
Yes.
Which Toronto is remarkably close to Las Vegas when you consider where England is in comparison.
Yeah, well, look, you're bringing logic into it.
I'm sorry.
I like what you're doing because I try to bring logic into these situations a lot, and they don't like it. Another thing I heard, the English crowd, they sing. Don't you love it when a bunch of drunken grown men sing in unison, Andrew? Isn't that wonderful? I know I go to games for that. Like, such a weird thing. Go and see a choir, dickheads. But yeah, so...
Well, don't go to a choir, just get out of the pub.
I know, right?
The thing that gets me about this, okay, is it's Leeds beat Hull KR 58-6.
Yes.
Right. What's happened to Hull KR?
Well, look, far be it from me to say it's only like, fucking... were the games in February? I think the games are still in February. It's early in the season. Like, no one's form really matters at this point of the year. That's why we don't hand out trophies this time of the year,
I wish they would. Tigers were second in the preseason challenge. I mean, that should just be an automatic entry into the grand final.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, I think next year for Las Vegas, we need to have 3 NRL games. We need to put the game's best foot forward. Have the biggest clubs in the world playing in these games. And, and I know Peter V'landys has tried his best to throw a bone, but it doesn't work. They don't appreciate it. They're actually starting to whinge and say they want more money to turn up, these English clubs.
Yeah, I will go half and half for you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we have 2 NRL games?
Yeah.
And the other game is the World Club Challenge. Because that's the only game where an English side tends to be competitive.
I mean, you can if you want. I
know you have zero care for the World Club Challenge.
Yeah.
But if the English want to be involved, then that should be the only way they're involved. Because if what we saw 58-6 between 2 what should be heavyweight sides, if something lopsided like that is what they're going to throw up, then that's just not good enough. We can't have that.
We can't have it. We're trying to put on a quality event here, and we keep getting let down. And, we don't have to be. We've got heaps of quality we can put on show there, and we're not getting anything out of it, having them over.
No.
We'll replace them with much bigger clubs with much bigger supporter bases of fan bases that are in a higher socioeconomic situation that can, they've got more disposable income. It just makes sense that we'll just replace them with that.
So you're suggesting we could even have like a Queensland Cup game played there?
Would it be any worse?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's sort of then. Now there's some other tight games in the English Rugby League over the week.
Oh, really? I didn't follow any of it. So
Didn't hear? Oh man, there was some absolute crackers that were played.
I saw that the London Broncos.
London beat North Wales 106-18.
Yeah, that'll bring the crowds back.
Doncaster beat Salford 78-8.
Nice.
Widnes beat Gould 54-24. Batley beat Swinton 54-6. Some good quality contests there. That's all in the championship, the second division.
Yeah, and look, the funny thing is that I still see tweets come up in my timeline from the mix of English Rugby League journos that go from like whimsically not understanding the sport to just full on grifters, just telling fans what they want to hear. And they're all like, I don't understand why the national media doesn't really look at Super League. And it's like, look at where the teams are. That's not a national competition of any relevance. And, they just don't understand it. And when you point it out, they get angry at you. It's like, you're shooting the messenger here, dickhead. And then you get to a point where you're just like, oh, fuck you, just enjoy what you've got. And,
so I just wanted to point out.
Just stop annoying us while you do it.
Well, that's true. I just wanted to point out the top team in championship at the moment is the London Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what the average score is for the London Broncos game so far this year in championship?
Like they're for and against on average games.
Yeah.
I'm going to say an average 42.4. And against, I'm going to say 8.
Okay, against is 11, so you're not far off there.
Okay.
Points scored per game is currently sitting at 64.75.
No, it's not. Is it really?
Yeah, there's 259-4 in 4 games.
That's outrageous. Hey, we actually have an email from an English Rugby League fan here.
You know what?
Yeah.
I really want to get into emails right here, right now.
Yeah. He says, hi, fellas. It's from Stephen. Hi, fellas. I hate POMs and want them to lose. Oh, he's an Australian. Sorry, Stephen. I thought you were a POM. So we can like him. Hi, fellas. I hate POMs and want them to lose everything. And as a background, I'm a Broncos fan and a Queenslander. I know how much...
He's not 100% good then.
It's getting worse and worse, isn't it? I'm just kidding.
You should have just stopped at I don't like POMs.
I hate POMs. Well, that's a good email, Steve.
Yeah.
He says, I know how much you guys rightfully despise pommies. That's funny how I've dragged you into this.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever despised them. I like it when we beat them. But I think I've always been a pretty...
Andrew, that's not what you tell me when the podcast stops.
I've always been the one that sort of, talks about how can we fix it? How can we do this? How can you're like, fuck them.
Yeah. Look, I used to be like that. I used to be like, you know what you need to do? You know the things you need to do. And you do that enough, and then you just get to a point where it's like, fuck them.
In retrospect, I think what it is it's the dad in me. And when dads get into their mid-40s, they like having fixer-uppers.
Okay.
And that's English Rugby League for me. That's my little fixer-upper. I'm just out in the shed with a hammer and a box of nails and stuff. I'm just tinkering away. Yeah, maybe if we just do this, if we fuck around with the finals like this, that's what I want.
And I'm the person that comes up and says, listen, I know you're trying, okay?
You just rock up and go, all of that there you've got in your shed there, that's all hard rubbish. Just chuck it in the fucking bin.
I'm like, listen, either we take this, we put it on the back of a fucking hauler, and we'll get scrap metal out of it, or you've got to just leave the keys in it. The car will disappear. It'll be found, burnt out down at Ropes Creek, and you'll get the insurance money. That's what you need to do. You can buy whatever you want with the insurance money. But this thing here, it's not happening.
I think that's the most perfect way to describe how we approach English Rugby League.
Yep, I think it is. Anyway, so back to Stephen's email. He says, I know how much you guys rightfully despise pommies, and all they stand for, but they do keep beating our best club sides. Be honest now. You guys place high emphasis on players and teams' quality based on winning. Sure, NRL players and teams have clearly more class, but they keep beating us in the all-important World Club Challenge. They seem to beat us with spirit, so they have maroon-like qualities.
Sorry, just spirit.
You despise the pommies. I can't believe it.
I want to interrupt just quickly. Okay. I've heard this argument a lot.
Okay.
Not the spirit one, that threw me. But our best club team beats your best club team all the time. I said, yeah, you know what? It's after the Super League season has begun. It's usually like 2 or 3 weeks in, so the players have had a bit of time under their belt. They've started playing. That makes a huge difference. Plus, they're playing it on their own home soil in their own weather conditions. Our players usually get there only a few days before and play the game and then come back home. And the Australian players do not take it seriously. And that is part of the problem. And so this is why the English teams are always dominant at it. They do take it seriously. It's played on their home turf. It's played in their conditions, and it's played after they've started their season. Whereas the Australians it's like February when we play it, or March, and we haven't started the season yet. We've played 2 trials or maybe 1 trial game, and in the first trial game every year, as we know, barely any regular first graders are playing, and if they do, they play for 20 minutes and then they're off.
Yeah, so, there's a reason we play trials.
Yeah, there's no mileage, there's no actual game time in their legs over the last 5 months. That makes a difference. It makes a significant difference. Yeah. And that shows how little regard the Australian teams have for this game. And that's part of the problem. You know, if you want to consider Australia constantly losing the World Club Challenge games a problem, that's the reason for it. It's not passion or anything like that. It's just England they've found something where they can say, yeah, we were better at Australia at something. And so that's what makes them passionate about it. Because we don't give a shit and they do. That's simple as that. You know, if we want to start taking it seriously, like both countries, then we will start playing this game in June.
Yeah.
Let's see who wins it then.
Yeah. And the thing is, just say you were the Broncos and you decided to take this game seriously. So you start playing trial games, and I don't know who you'd play trial games against, but you'd start playing them in early January. You'd gear up for it. You'd be
40-degree heat.
Yeah. But then you've turned your NRL season into a 10-month slog. And good luck being there at the end of that 10-month slog, because you've just extended your season a month and a half longer than every other NRL club has. It's just for a trophy that's given out in February.
Yeah.
You know, would you take the World Club Challenge trophy over 2 competition points? I don't think you would.
No. And that's the thing. And at the end of the day too, it's, you know, if they play their first trial in January and then head over in February for the World Club Challenge, they've gone from playing in 35, 40-degree heat to going over there in the snow. You can't just assume that doesn't take an impact on players.
Well, you got to watch I watch NRL trial games, right? And these World Club Challenge games are trial games for the NRL teams. Early on, there's a heap of mistakes. You know, their combinations are not going great. And that's what you see in trial games. It just is.
Yeah.
But I've never cared about the World Club Challenge. Like the World Club Challenge went off my radar in 1997. Like,
I was going to say, like, I enjoyed it when I was younger because the best teams in England in the 90s, early 90s, mid 90s, they were legitimately good teams. And it was basically Wigan most of the time in like 92, 93 Wigan sides.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would go toe to toe with the best teams in Australia.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. So it was good to see them go up against that Broncos side, which is basically the Maroons' origin side. You know, they were good contests. But after that, do you remember who the West Tigers played in 2006?
2006 would it have been? I know, Bradford.
It was Bradford.
Yeah.
Would you have called either of those two sides the best of both comps? Bradford probably was the best in Super League, but West Tigers weren't the best team in the NRL in 2005.
I mean, look, you win the comp, you're the best.
They did win the comp, but I think if you were to look on paper, you would say that the West Tigers were a good side, but I don't think anybody would have had the West Tigers pegged to make it to a grand final in 2005 at the start of that year.
Look,
and that's because on paper they weren't that strong a side. The rules favoured them, and no one thought about that. But they went on a massive run at the end of the season. That's how they got in, and a bit of luck in the finals as well, coming up against a few weak or injury-riddled sides. And I know it sounds like I'm taking something away from it, but I'm not, because you got to win the games to get the job done. But I still don't see how that West Tigers side could ever be considered as the best NRL side that year, because how did they do the following year?
Yeah, but they
were in the finals wilderness for 5 years after it.
I saw some English players, some former English players, on a podcast clip that was posted on Twitter, and they were saying how the top probably 4 or 5 Super League teams could go toe to toe with the best in the NRL. And Holkear's halfback hang on. Yeah. In the whole season, if you put them in together. Holkear's halfback is Tyrone May. Leeds is Brodie Croft.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about here?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they get there. I think it just comes about because they're so inundated with their own game. That's fine.
Look, there's definitely a case of like it's such a small little competition in such a small geographic area. They're getting all of their news and information from, as I said, people that are either extremely optimistic or are flat out grifters who tell them what they want to hear. And anytime somebody comes in from the outside of that, they hate them and don't like anything they have to do or say. And that's fine. That's why it's like, let them go and do that. But that they don't have to inflict it all that dumb shit on the rest of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's keep going with this email.
Yeah.
Marine Lake Qualities, what do you say? What do you really have to say for yourselves? Yeah, and then P.S. Does this mean York are the best team in the world? Like, going by their own logic, yeah, that is what it would mean. And then he sent another email after the game between Holkear and the Rhinos, and he wrote, "Rhinos are the best team in the world. You of all people, I had to." P.S. Sevo, PPS Brodie Croft, because Brodie Croft tore him up. We've got another email here from Alan. This is actually quite a long email. This is NRL issues resolved. He says, comment. Please see the issues, blah, blah, blah. NRL off to the USA. For the NRL to be successful in the USA, a number of improvements as to how the game is televised need to happen. Having watched a few games with my work friends from the USA, a common comment was that they enjoyed watching it but simply did not understand 1 minute of it. In the USA game, a flag system is used. I think.
Well, they also use inches.
Yeah.
And they do their dates backwards, but they don't do their money backwards.
Oh, I think what he's talking.
I could go on.
He's talking about gridiron. Okay, so he says in the USA game, flag system is used and an explanation given over the loudspeaker as to the decisions given by the referee. Gridiron has numerous stoppages with explanations, and the crucial point is how the US audience has grown up watching football. A game of fewer stoppages and almost nil explanation from the officials that would be understood in the States. The viewing audience in the USA have not seen the game on a regular basis and in general terms do not understand the rules. Our broadcasters would not have the time during the match to point out the finer and not so finer points of the game. Let me be clear that it is a game just like any other game which requires a thorough understanding before it can be enjoyed by a US audience. So what can be done about the presentation of our game in order to be more successful in having our game watched perhaps played in the USA? And then he says, let's start something simple. And he says something I was just thinking about. A caption at the bottom of the screen. Can we have this shown aligned with the teams as they line up in the field? Let's not have the caption the wrong way around for one half the game as we do in Australia. A parallel TV channel selected by viewer's choice, the purpose being that the rules and technical description of the game as it progresses can be shown on screen in order to free up the commentators from having to describe it 100% of the game. It could work by having the commentators select from, say, a range of buttons that have technical descriptions already prepared for them to choose from. I have seen something similar to this in a union game. A word come up on screen, ruck, and one word was all that was there for the viewers to sort out what was the infringement. Absolutely not good enough. Another suggestion, as the girls' game is played a lot slower, more time would be available for explanation and clarification. Not sure if the girls would be playing, but it would help set up the system. Please contact me via email if further details would be welcome. So yeah, there's some interesting ideas there. I think that, you know, maybe having captions or a scrolling thing under the screen would be good, under the, you know, the time and the score and everything that says what a penalty was for. But I mean, I think what it comes down to is it's just generally giving them more exposure to the game and, you know, allowing them to pick up on different things. And I mean, I think the way to get rugby league into the USA is to pick medium-sized colleges and start trying to get the game into colleges over there, even if it's in a small geographic area to start with and build upon that. I think that's the way to do it, because then you're teaching like young athletes the game. Maybe they're the people that are on the fringes of their gridiron teams that, you know, are looking to earn a scholarship, or they're looking to represent the school in some other sport. And it you know, that's the way I would personally get the game more into their sports psyche over there.
Look, there's everything that you suggested and that was put forward in the email, all good ideas. But at the end of the day, everyone who watches rugby league didn't learn it from being told the rules. We watched it being played on footy and we started to figure it out that way. So all I'm hearing is the American sporting public are lazy and they don't want to learn about another sport. That's basically what it is. Like, at the end of the day, you know, do they tell you the rules of how darts is played while they're throwing darts at a board? I mean, even people who from America watch cricket and they don't understand it. And we don't tell them how cricket's played. And I'm pretty sure there's plenty of time to explain every fucking rule and sub-rule in the history of every fucking rule that's ever played in a game of cricket. And we don't do it there. So I would say what needs to be done, the best way to do it is not do it during a game, is just have a video that comes out from the NRL that very briefly goes through the key rules and things that happen in a game, so that you've got enough knowledge to understand basically 90% of what goes on in a game. What's a forward pass? What's a knock on? You know, what happens if you kick the ball into touch, if it goes out on the full, points for a try, how you score a try, that sort of stuff. Basic stuff so you get a bit of a rough grasp of what's going on. It's only got to be like 5 minutes. Perfect. And that would be all you need. I think if you went and tried to explain in detail during a game every rule, you would confuse everybody because not one knock on is the same as another.
Yeah, true.
And you'd have too much grey area, and I think you'd end up confusing people. And they're like, well, hang on, didn't I see something like that last week and it got called something different? And now, is that a knock on or is it something else? I don't know anymore. And you just, I don't know. I think you want to try and keep it as simple as possible and as short as possible. If it's a 5-minute video, they can pause the broadcast and watch the 5-minute video and figure out what it was again. Oh, yeah, okay, figure it out, and then press play again, and off you go. I think that would probably be better than having rules and stuff all over the screen. I remember when the rugby union tried that thing with the, explaining what it was with one word in the bottom there, and I was just looking at it going, that's just stupid. Because now I'm looking at it with someone who actually understands most of the rules of rugby union going, why are they putting the word ruck on the screen?
Yeah, look, I watch a lot of basketball, and I used to watch a lot of NFL. And so I know the rules for both those sports inside out. And it was just through exposure to both sports, through years of exposure to both sports. So I just think exposure is the way to go. And
no, that's right. That's what I was saying. Like what you suggested was a far more better idea. And that is, you've got to get the American audience exposed to it, and you've got to get it, not just take one game over there and just go, yeah, that'll do yours. Like, they need to have a broadcast over there regularly and at a decent time, not at 2 a.m. when no one's going to watch it. Have it on some channel. Who cares what it is? Have an Australian channel with rugby league games on there. Let people watch it during normal times when normal humans are normally awake, not like me.
I think that there's the keys are like you want it to be live, right? I think that the problem that we have is that most of our NRL games are on very late for the US audience. So that's one problem we have in terms of them seeing it regularly. But you could still get to see it. I mean, we have, there's a lot of NBA games that are on too early in the morning for us. And obviously, anything in Europe is on too late for us. There's plenty of Formula One fans in Australia, and the entire season is basically on at the wrong time for us. So
all those bastards overseas fucking whinge about their one race over here.
Fucking idiots. And who is it that's doing the whinging? Yeah, you know who they are, where they're from. But like it really does just come down to exposure, and you give them enough exposure, they'll pick up on it. I think that's why it's important that you have to show them games that are good quality games that are actual contests, so that they, if you sit down and there's a soccer, like if somebody says to you, hey, this World Cup final in soccer, they're into extra time. Even if you don't like soccer, you're going to chuck that on because you want to see what happens, So you've got to have close quality contests, and that's what we need to provide. That's why I think it's important that the NRL just plays 3 NRL games next year and going forward for the Las Vegas games. There was also talk about maybe playing, I think Peter Volandis threw up the idea of maybe playing a similar sort of Las Vegas style event in Miami, possibly in the future. I think that the NRL needs to look at playing these games somewhere where they would have an actual impact on the city. I'm very skeptical that the city of Las Vegas that gets bombarded every single day by some event, and that's not even including the fact that the Strip is there. They would just be tone deaf. The actual citizens of Las Vegas, for the most part, would be tone deaf to events that turn up because they're just happening all the time. So I think we'd probably get more out of playing the event somewhere where it is not just one of the million other things that are going on that year. I think playing it maybe somewhere like San Antonio, I think it'd be a pretty good idea. They've got an indoor stadium there that could be used. Places like that where I think it would actually make an impact, more mid-sized cities rather than big cities or tourist destinations. You could play it in LA and it'd just get swamped by, everything that's going on in LA. You could play the same thing with New York. The teams, even the sporting teams in Miami, find it hard to attract Miami residents to their games. You look at the baseball teams in particular, they find it very difficult. And then you've also got to look at, there's certain areas of the United States where you are not going to break into the communities NFL, or not NFL, gridiron community-based teams.
Yeah.
And in particularly Texas is one of those areas where good luck. You're not going to break through there. So I don't know what you do. I know that I said San Antonio, but I think you've got to really pick the right place. I heard some people saying Utah would be a possible option because there's apparently quite a big Polynesian population there. But I don't know personally. And look, I know the American sporting landscape pretty fucking well. And it's very hard to pick somewhere where I can think of where you'd be like the main event and it would be something sustainable that you could go forward with in a city that was the sort of city you want to go forward with it in. There are plenty of cities you could pick, but the problem is the crime is a problem in those cities. And what is the future of the sport going to be? Investing in your first city where they've got a major crime problem. I think of somewhere like St. Louis like that, where they don't have an NFL team anymore.
Well, let me throw up one, okay? And this is not because of any ideas I got, but Florida, because when rugby league started taking a bit of a, I wouldn't say a hold, but, along those lines in England, in America, it started in Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
So would there be somewhere in Florida that would be worthwhile going to, knowing that rugby league's got some sort of historical significance, in America in that part?
I wonder if you could do like Jacksonville, Orlando, those sorts of parts of Florida. I think as you go south, it would become a little bit more difficult. I think soccer is, because you're getting that influence from, Latin America comes in through the south of Florida. So they're more towards soccer in terms of anything. You might get it around Jacksonville and I guess into the Carolinas and stuff like that. That might be an area you could aim for. But, nowhere really stands out for me. That's the problem.
And that's the thing. I mean, it's what we
like. You could maybe
before.
San Diego. San Diego would be maybe something you could look at in terms of they've only got the baseball team now.
Yeah, and look, the NRL want to have some place that an Australian can look at it and go, oh yeah, I know where that is. They want something that people know when they look at Sydney and see the Sydney Harbour Bridge, and go, oh yeah, that's Sydney in Australia. And so they want some sort of iconic American thing like that.
Yeah,
that's kind of what they want for marketing purposes.
Yeah.
So that's a problem you're going to get with Jacksonville.
Yeah. Yeah, if you put an event on in Jacksonville, an American is not going to see it as a big event.
No, that's right. So it's they've got to find a way to tap into where they know they have some semblance of a fan base or some semblance of history and work with that, but not be too far removed from a key landmark or a key city or something like that where they, aren't. They are doing themselves a disservice by being too far away from a big chunk of the public who might be interested.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's what they're trying to appeal to, obviously.
And look, I look at it through the eyes of, I want to build something for the future. If this is just a junket where everyone goes over, has a good time and comes back, fine, right?
Yeah.
That's not the way that I look at it, though. I want something to be built. And look, we're playing in Las Vegas. The fucking place is built in the middle of a desert. It's not exactly rugby league, environment.
It's the Alice Springs of America.
It literally is. Yeah. Like, if, it's not like it's surrounded by green fields.
No.
So if we're just going over for the event, that's cool. But let's not pretend it's anything more than that.
Yeah.
And if you want more than that, then you've got to start looking at these other things, I guess.
Yeah, and at the moment too, the big problem that I guess the NRL has is that I would say 90% of the crowds that attend have flown over from Australia, so they're not really drawing in that many locals, to even just out of curiosity to come and watch the game.
Yeah, and I wonder, you would have to think about where you would get more local support for an event if you wanted it to be about the locals, and that's the problem. Is it about the locals, or is it about getting a bunch of Aussies over for a weekend?
Yeah.
And if it's just about the Aussies, leave it in Las Vegas. It works pretty good that way. But if it's about exposing the game to locals and making them want to follow the game and watch the sport and stuff, then that's a completely different thing. And, then you've got to do something else, because what they're doing right now, I don't think fits that sort of event.
It's not viable long term. And
no, not if that's what you. Yeah, if you took all of the Aussies that went over away from that event, we wouldn't be having the event.
No, I think they need to find a way to create some sort of partnership commercially with either the NBA or the NFL and do some sort of cross promotion stuff over there with each other.
They won't do that. They just won't do that.
I know they won't, but that's if they want to get into American living rooms and houses, we can't have what we had, was it last year, where Aaron Woods is passing a ball on the sideline. Who cares? Like, we need to get some of the elite household names who are playing sport in America being seen alongside this sport that's come from some other country.
Yeah, don't get someone that looks like fucking Peter Russell Clark. Get someone that looks like a fucking actual rugby league player.
Looks like an actual athlete.
I know. It's like, God, who the fuck thought that was a good idea?
And someone who could talk without saying every second word.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So I think there's a lot of opportunities there for the NRL, and they've got to try and work on a bigger scale, not just trying to think of what works here in Australia, and that is just plonking a game in a city. They need to start thinking, how do we actually get into this market? Because it's a tough market to crack.
Yeah, very tough.
And the game has been legitimately trying to get into the American market from an Australian perspective since 1910 and still hasn't done it. And now we've actually got some, enough financial clout to give it a proper crack. And we're over there and we're playing games in one of the big cities. We've got to find a way. We can't just go, okay, we've done it now. That's enough. We've got to find a way to go that next step further. And I think what you said before about, getting into colleges and stuff over there is a key thing. I don't know how they do it, but if they could do that, that would be a great idea. I think they need to try and somehow get the rugby league competition in America bigger as well. That way, Americans have got their own teams to support in a local comp. So they go, we've got this version of the game here already.
I tell you how I would do it. I would start with women's game, because they've got rules in place over there in colleges where they've got to have the same number of scholarships for women's sport as they do for men's sport. So I would get it going by saying, look, we've got women's rugby league that we can offer you, and start it in an area with local colleges playing against each other. They wouldn't give scholarships to begin with, but show them that it's a viable thing that they could build upon there. And you've got to have a long-term goal with that. And then on top of that, you say, well, we can have men's teams too, and do different things to help them out there. But I tend to think that's not what the NRL is thinking of, and that's fine. But don't pretend that this Vegas venture is something more than that. Then, I'm happy with it just being an away trip. I really am. As an away trip, it works great, but I just don't. Let's not pretend it's changing hearts and minds while we're there.
Yeah, there's none of that's actually taken place. It is It is 100% a marketing exercise, and it's a good marketing exercise.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. And I'm sure that there are people that come across it on TV and they're like, what's this? And look, the NRL is a really nice product to watch on TV. The presentation is good. The teams look great. The athletes look fantastic. It's a really good, you switch it on and you're watching a quality sporting event straight away.
Yeah.
So I'm certain that there will be people here and there that are like, oh, I come across this on TV and it looks great. And, I started following it from a distance and stuff in a similar way that people did the same thing with US sports in Australia. But if you're not following it up with something, you're not following it up with something, and don't pretend you are.
Agreed. Was there more to the email?
No, that was the end of his email. We need more emails. We need just to send in emails because we love. Look how long we talked about them 2 emails for.
Yeah, that was a very thorough conversation.
Yeah.
No more emails?
No, not lately.
Spam?
Oh, man,
I'm trying.
The spam is ridiculous I've been getting lately. It's nonstop. I must be getting 30 spam emails a day.
Can we turn one of the spam emails into a rugby league conversation? How good are we?
No, we couldn't. They're just crap. They're just garbage. Let's talk about Zach Lomax.
Yeah, let's do that.
So today, yesterday, if you're listening to this, Zach Lomax's court case again with the Melbourne Storm against the Parramatta Eels to get him released from his deal that he signed with the Eels when he broke his original deal with the Eels was dismissed, basically. So Zach Lomax has to sit out for the next 2 years of the NRL. Zach Lomax signed a contract originally with the Dragons. He cut that deal short, negotiated a release from the Dragons to go to the Parramatta Eels on a long-term deal, good amount of money for a winger. He was only there for, 6 months or so before he started negotiating a release from that deal because he was going to go to a very lucrative rugby union competition that didn't exist. And the Eels said, look, we'll sign this, but you have to state that you will not play in the National Rugby League for the following 2 seasons. And he said, yeah, of course. I'm not going to be playing rugby league. I'm going to be playing in this rugby union competition that has no teams, no players, no stadiums, no TV deal, no employees, no grounds, nothing at all. I'll be off doing that. So I'll sign anything you want. So he signed it. And unfortunately, it was a competition with no players, no fans, no coaches, no administrators. Anyway.
Look,
so
in his defence, no one told him.
Well, yeah. And look, people have been bagging his manager. And I don't know who his manager is, and I don't particularly care. But the manager can't force a player to do something they don't want to do. A manager gets all of the information, all the offers, says, now what do you want to do? And the player picks what they want to do. And I'm sure his manager said, now, you know that we haven't got a contract and you're leaving contract. And he must have said, yeah, I'm going for it. It was a bad choice. He's basically broken a contract or negotiated on a release from the contract with the Dragons to go and play 1 year for the Eels, negotiate a release from them, to sign a contract saying he can't play in the National Rugby League for 2 years. That is what you don't do if you are a professional rugby league player, Andrew.
Can I just say too, just to add to that,
yes.
Not only did he sign a contract where he agreed to A, play for Parramatta, but also B, not play against Parramatta for 2 years.
Yes.
He cancelled that contract to sign a contract that didn't exist for a competition that didn't exist. And then while he wasn't doing that, he then tried to sign another contract with the Melbourne Storm.
Yes. Oh, by the way, after he tried to sort out a contract with a Perth Rugby Union team, he was there for a little bit.
Do you think
yes,
that Zach Lomax is a fucking idiot?
Oh, no. I don't think that. I know that.
Because the disregard this guy has for contracts. is on another level.
Well, it wasn't until this one. This contract he signed to not play in the NRL for 2 years.
So the crazy thing about it, I saw in the ruling today, was that the Melbourne Storm now have to pay $250,000, which is Parramatta's legal costs.
Yeah.
And if I was the Melbourne Storm, I'd be saying, here you go, Zach, that's your bill now.
Well, I believe that they said they would pay that when they started this deal, when they started trying to negotiate this release for Lomax. If I was a Storm, I would be very angry at, like, if I was one of the club's owners, I'd be very angry at people that just spent $250,000.
I'd just say to Zach, we made that deal with you that we'd pay this. Yeah, just like you, we're not going to honour it. This is your bill. Because this is the thing. He's managed to not have to pay a cent out of all of this drama. He's not playing footy for 2 years. But, I mean, he hasn't actually been genuinely punished. That's the contract that he signed. So he knew that. He knew that stipulation going into signing that contract.
I don't think he needs to be punished, though. It's just a case of like...
No, I think he does. I think when it comes to being an idiot, I think you need to be punished.
I tell you what, he's lost a lot of money. I reckon that's punishment enough.
No. He needs to lose $250,000 more.
Just look, listen, anybody out there that's a rugby league player, do not sign a contract that says you cannot play in the richest rugby league competition in the world for 2 years. That's a bad idea.
Yeah. And that shows you, Parramatta finally got smart with the contract. Because they've been dishing out a lot of bad contracts to a lot of players that shouldn't have been getting them. But they saw this bloke breaking a contract and went, yeah, you know what? If you're going to break another one, then we're going to make sure that we don't get stung with it.
Yeah, pretty good bit of business. I think that there will be more teams that will approach them with a player swap and see what they want. But that team will then have to also negotiate with Zach Lomax to see if he wants to play with them. And they obviously won't do it if he says no. But, funnily enough, the best place for him, I reckon, would be the Dragons.
Yeah, at Catalans.
Well, that's the thing. Like, he either has to go and play rugby union now, or go over and play in Super League, which, I mean, that's fucking miserable. My guess is he will play rugby union somewhere.
I think he'll go to Super League.
You reckon?
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I reckon there'll be Super League clubs lining up to sign him. And he'll just take whichever one throws the most money at him.
But what about the Super League salary cap, Andrew?
Does such a thing exist?
No, not really. Do you know that they're talking about...
Go on.
They're so fucking stupid.
Go on.
They're talking about raising the salary cap for individual clubs.
They can't fucking afford it now.
I know. None of them can afford it, but they're talking about. They're saying, well, if a team owner wants to tip in, then obviously they can afford it. It's like that's not the team.
It's not a salary cap anymore.
So they're talking about doing that, and we know where that fucking leads. And in a year where they've already had like 4 clubs go fucking bust in the last few months, they're going to put in place fucking changes that make more clubs go bust. This is why. Fuck them.
I think right now what needs to happen is Super League needs to just come out and say, you know what? This has all just been a front for our newest crypto coin. And just admit that they're grifting.
You might as well.
I just come out with a pump and dump.
Yeah.
That's all they're going to do. Because then this has been the worst example of a Ponzi scheme I've ever seen.
Look, a couple of weeks ago, I was doing research in regards to the assets that are owned by different Super League clubs.
Oh, so I remember you mentioning this.
The club's valuation.
Mm-hmm.
And it is shocking how most clubs, there's nothing there. Like we talk about clubs in Australia, and when you talk about it, you understand there's a certain amount of infrastructure there. There's a certain amount of assets there. There's a certain amount of, your club generally owns a facility and facilities, and Super League teams and English Rugby League teams don't work that way. There's very few of their teams actually own anything.
Yeah.
And they, and you'll get Super League fans that will say, oh, our owner is worth this much money. And it's like, yeah, but that's the owner. Your club doesn't generate enough money within itself to fucking do anything. And they don't understand that. And then you look at this week, a lot of, I saw Footy Industry, he was posting a lot of the NRL teams' financial statements for last year. And you look at how much, I think the Broncos had $98 million in turnover last year.
Yeah.
And I think, the Panthers had a massive amount of turnover as well. And those two clubs have ridiculous amounts of assets, and they own land and facilities and all sorts of businesses. And the Panthers last year were valued at $141 million. It was like the highest valued sporting club in Australia in all sports. And the Broncos weren't very far behind them. I think they might have been second or something. These Super League clubs, there's they're literal franchises. There's nothing underneath what you see run out, and it's shocking to me because they've had 100+ years to build stuff, and they didn't build some of these clubs didn't build one thing. It's crazy.
Well, it's because
and they haven't got plans to build anything either. Some of them do, but most of them don't.
This is the problem, though, and we've been through this tons of times. This is the problem you get, though, with the promotion relegation system, is that every team is spending their money on surviving.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible situation. That's what they've created. And they've sold it to the fans that, this means every team's got a chance of being promoted and blah, 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 blah. And you go, no. It's just, it doesn't work that way. Have a look at how many teams have been folding this in the last 3 months in England. It's just, that's what it does. And so their clubs don't have any interest in focusing on long-term assets and, wealth growth and that sort of stuff, because their owners, they see the clubs that they own as a form of investment, and not one where they get a return on investment every year, but they're hoping that with their little plaything, their football team, they might win some money by winning competitions at the end of the year. And that will be enough for it to break even, and then they don't lose money. And for 2 or 3 owners, it works out all right. And that's about it.
I honestly think most of them look at these clubs as a tax write-off because they incur losses, right?
Well, I was going to say something along those lines, but I don't know how the English tax system works in that regards. But I wouldn't be surprised if that is also 100% true.
Yeah, look, that's just a guess, because because they lose money, right? If it's losing money and you have to tip money into it to keep it alive, and that was your idea, was that it's going to be some sort of tax write-off for you, then why would you invest this entity that you own to have any assets? Because it kind of works against that. Like if they start having assets, and look, there's some clubs where that's not how they're run, but most of them are. It's really weird. It's really weird to me. And clubs that have been successful for a very long time, and there's nothing there. I don't understand it, especially as some you look at Penrith come into the New South Wales Rugby League competition in 1967, and there wasn't a huge amount happening around Penrith at that time. But they had a vision to build and build and build and build and build. And now you go out there and they've got, these giant facilities and entertainment. It's like an entertainment district, They own it. It's been possible to make that happen if you put the effort in, and the English clubs just never had that mindset, and that's why now they're in these positions where they are reliant on charity from local businessmen to keep them alive, rather than being able to stand on their own 2 feet. It's really crazy.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone would own an English rugby league team, Super League or whatever. As I just don't see how there's any benefit anywhere, other than you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart, or because you grew up as a fan of the club, or that sort of stuff, and you've got a ton of fucking money and you don't really care what happens. You can generate enough revenue and income from other streams to cover the losses you get there. Then fair enough.
And you're happy to do it. Yeah.
But otherwise, I can't see how it would be. It definitely doesn't generate income.
No.
So I don't know why the English Rugby League has allowed itself to get to that situation where they have to rely on random rich people to keep their game and their clubs alive, because that's a horrible fucking concept for a system.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It'd be terrifying. I mean, imagine your NRL club is owned by someone, and it's like you look at Souths, right? They're owned by Russell Crowe, who's been a magnificent owner for them. Does exactly what you want an owner to do. Loves the club, lets everyone run it, and when they say, we need your star power to help bring someone in, he turns up, he puts on the show for them, and then he disappears again,
Yeah.
But if Russell Crowe decided to sell the club tomorrow, or even sell the club back to, or turn the club into like its own entity, like it's not private ownership anymore, South Sydney generates so much money that it would be completely fine. Like, they don't need Russell Crowe to keep them alive.
No, that's right.
I can't imagine having an owner that, like, if the owner decides that he wants to do something else going forward and sells the club, it's like, what happens now? Because we're insolvent immediately.
Yeah, like you're constantly just scrambling for, begging.
Yeah,
you're going around begging for money. That's bad.
It is. It made me wonder if all of these clubs that were going bust over in England, what if the NRL just kept buying them? Every time a club goes bust, they just buy them and mothball it.
At a fire sale.
Yeah, just look, they could have bought 4 clubs in the last, 6 months or
Salford
so.
will only take you if we can get an extra 6 business chairs as well.
I would love to know how much Salford how much it cost the person that now owns Salford, how much they spent to do it. Because I would bet it's a shockingly low amount of money.
It would not be much at all.
And so why couldn't the NRL say, we're buying that club, we're buying that club, we're buying that club?
Well, I did see something recently suggesting that there's talk again of Landy's talking about, a financial interest in Super League, and telling clubs that they need to get ready to, cede control of the game and stuff like that if they want the NRL to get involved. And I was like, yeah, he's right, but at the same time, it's not going to happen. Super League clubs won't give up any control of that game. Doesn't matter who's coming in. Doesn't matter if it's going to save it. They won't do it.
Yeah, they will not. It's just goes against everything they're about. They will not do it. They will rather it all dies in a heap than do that. And, that's why I think if the NRL wants to get a foothold into the UK, just do your own thing. Start your own competition.
Yeah.
And you could do it you could make it a winter competition, whatever you want. That's what I would do. Either that or you just go straight to France. I think the French would love it.
Yeah, I think there would be, the French would absolutely love having imagine if the Super League just become the French Super League. And then it'd just be full of French teams and just, the last 3 surviving English teams. Oh, that would be fantastic.
Look, I've said before, I think that the London Broncos should join the French competition. I think that would be great for the Broncos. I think it'd be great for the French competition. And then all of a sudden you start looking at the French competition, which is the largest in terms of geographical spread. It's the second largest competition in the world, the French competition.
Are you trying to say that the French competition is further spread apart than the M62?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So I would have the two French teams come out of Super League, have London go into the French competition, and you bring the NRL in, get them to invest in the French competition, and I think the French would embrace that and watch what happens. I think it would be fantastic. You've already got the player base there; they'd be open to it. I think it'd be really interesting if the NRL did that.
Hell yeah. Because too, the French would be keen on spreading the game immediately into other parts of Europe.
100%.
And they always been about expansion.
Yeah, and I think that the other thing you'd find is that the French would be really keen on spreading the game across France. And I think that if you go into England, you're going to run into a lot of people that just want the game to be strong in their little town. And you can tell them, hey, if all of your competitors are strong, that makes you stronger. They won't like that. I think there were some people in the Australian Rugby League that took a long time to work out that, if the worst team in your competition is really strong financially and has really good players and gets good ratings, that means everyone makes more money. That means everyone's going great. I think it took a long time for that to sink in over here, and I think it would take way longer over in England.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because there was a long time where in Australian Rugby League, it was like, I don't care what my competitors are doing. I don't care about their financial strength. I don't care about their strength, and I don't think you see that anymore. I think they all kind of know that everyone's strength is directly related to everyone else's strength. And it took a long time, but they got there. And that's why we're flying now over here.
Imagine if the NRL just brought out the French Rugby Union.
Well, the French Rugby Union is they've got teams that are privately owned as well in a similar setup where it's like they tip money in. It's a very European sport thing.
Because I just asked ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Which is financially stronger, French Rugby Union or the NRL? It said on here, NRL's revenue is roughly 4 to 6 times larger than the French Rugby Union's typical operating income.
Yeah. And what you find over there, and it's kind of similar in English Rugby Union, they'll get owners that will spend like £10 million or 10 million euros or whatever to build out a squad, and that squad is not even close to being financially viable for that club, but they'll tip money in.
Yeah.
And whereas the NRL, everything's covered and then some. The amount that every team spends, what is it, $12.5 million on players in the NRL, and that amount is covered many times over in terms of how much money the NRL makes overall. So, yeah, the NRL's in such a crazy financial position. It's kind of extraordinary.
Well, speaking of, we'll quickly touch on this too. There's the broadcasting deal set to start up again very soon.
Yep.
Channel 7's just released, or just announced they're going to be having a weekly program, rugby league program on there.
Yep.
Not watching it.
No, did you see who was on it?
Oh, fuck. I just looked at it and went, yep.
Bad.
You turned them away before they even turned the bloody show on.
Yeah.
But they've shown that they're going to have an interest in broadcasting more rugby league content.
Yep.
Channel 9 also came out and said, we're not going to pay overs for rugby league.
Yep, which is funny.
It's hilarious.
They will.
They need rugby league.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if the NRL splits the broadcasting between the two channels, as well as having Foxtel, and they will end up making a ton of money. And there's suggestions that the next deal could be worth $4 billion over several years.
Yeah, which is amazing. Be interesting to see what the salary cap goes up to. And
well, it needs to go up because we've got 2 new teams coming in and potentially a third, because I don't know if the NRL were going to be overly keen on having an odd number of teams. Who knows? But if they want to have a third team come in, they're going to need that extra cash anyway to accommodate that and another team's salary cap. So I wouldn't be surprised if the salary cap only has very modest increases until they figure out how many teams they're going to have. And then the TV rights deal after the current one comes in, I think that's when we'll see big increases in salary caps and player wages and stuff.
Yeah, it seems that the I guess what we would traditionally have been called the pay TV side of it, I guess it's now called the digital streaming side of it. Talk about that has died down a little bit, which suggests to me that it's going to stay with Fox Sports. And we talked about how when they got bought by DAZN, that Fox Sports basically had to have the rights because otherwise that investment is immediately cut in half by DAZN if they lost the NRL rights. But the free-to-air deal, I know Volantis has said that State of Origin will be a separate component. So, and that's going to be a bit of a jewel in the crown for whoever gets that. And, I mean, the NRL is the most watched sport in Australia. And you capture, all of those eyeballs from March until, October 1st or October 3rd, whenever the grand final's on.
Yeah.
It's an incredible amount of live viewers you get. So, anybody that gets it is going to have to pay through the nose for it because it is very valuable, and anybody that loses it is going to be fucked.
And I also wouldn't rule out, not there's been any talk of, but I wouldn't rule out Paramount getting involved as well, the owners of Channel 10.
Well, Paramount just did a deal where the owners of Paramount just did a deal where they are trying to buy Warner Brothers. I think that deal is for $100 billion. And their market capitalization is very close to that. So I don't know how much more money they have to spend. But, I guess if they're splashing out the money, maybe it's the right time, We'll see.
Yeah.
They might have bigger fish to fry overseas, though, at the moment. I think that might be a problem.
Who knows?
Yeah. They've been trying to push for Paramount to be bigger in sport. They recently paid, I believe it was a lot for the UFC.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. The thing that I just hope is that it sees the salary cap go up, and as you say, with expansion, the Players Association needs to remember that the salary cap in an individual team might go up by, say, $5 million. But if another team is added, then there's an overall salary pool that just went up by like $15 million. So they've got to be pretty happy every time there's an expansion club added. So
absolutely.
So there's a lot to look forward to. It's really exciting.
It really is. And should we put a bow on this one now at that stage?
Yeah, why not? How about let's say our tips for the upcoming round.
Oh, absolutely. We've got to put that in. I've got a few stats as well we can chuck in there.
Okay, yep. If Knights and Cowboys already done. Knights won that 28-18. Bulldogs won 15-14 and Golden Point over the Dragons. Eels versus Storm.
Melbourne. I don't think. What was the stat? Melbourne hasn't lost a round one game in 23 years or something like that.
They're due.
They're due. Where's the stats? Here we go. Melbourne have won all of their last 23 round one games. Parramatta have won 23 of their last 41 round one games, which is since 1984. Mm-hmm. Melbourne have won their last 6 games against Parramatta with an average score of 36-14. And Parramatta have never beaten Melbourne in Melbourne with a score less than 20.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
So, Melbourne to do that one.
Yeah, so if you're going to bet on the Eels, you'd take them with the points over whatever the points.
Yeah, they need to score at least 20 points if they're going to beat the Storm.
Warriors versus Roosters.
Yeah, Warriors have got 4 injuries. 2 of them are halves. So I'm not seeing them winning this. I think the Roosters are going to win this. The Warriors have won just 9 of their 29 round 1 games. However, they've won 14 of their 23 games against the Roosters when played in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, the Roosters have won 14 of the last 21 games against the Warriors. I think the Roosters will do this one comfortably.
Yeah, it's hard to look past the Roosters. This game is going to be so good. Broncos hosting the Panthers.
All right, so Penrith have won just 3 of their last 17 round 1 games played away from the Panthers' home ground. That goes back to 1987.
That's no good.
Brisbane have won all 4 of their round 1 games against Penrith, which was in 1989, 2003, 2008, and 2023. Penrith have won 9 of their last 11 games against the Broncos, and there have been 9,998 tries scored in all premiership games played in Queensland.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
So the second try in this game will be 10,000 in Queensland.
Nice.
So who do you think is going to win and who do you think is going to score the 10,000th try in Queensland?
I think the Panthers, just because the Broncos have had to deal with a really disrupted preseason. I think this game is going to immediately put the season on. I think that there's going to be some carryover from that preliminary final in this. I think that the crowd is going to be huge. They're going to be going off, and I think this is going to be an epic game. I think the second try scorer is going to be, I'm going to say Dylan Edwards.
All right, I'm going for Penrith, and I'm going for Nathan Cleary to score the second try.
Okay. Be nice for him to finally achieve something.
You fucking plotter. You can put that feather in his cap.
Yeah. So Saturday, Sharks hosting the Titans.
Titans have won 11 of their last 41 games played in Sydney. Cronulla have won 46 of their last 64 games at Shark Park. And they've won 11 of their last 12 games against the Titans. I'm picking the Sharks in this one by plenty, enough.
Yeah, you got to go for the Sharks in this one. Titans doing a total rebuild. Talked about it in the pre-season or the preview that it's going to be a rough season for the Titans, but it's good. They needed it, and it's hopefully going to be the start of something good for the club going forward.
Yeah.
Seagulls versus Raiders. The Seagulls hosting the Raiders.
Manly have won just 5 of their last 18 round 1 games. However, 3 of those were in the last 3 years. They've won 24 of their last 34 games against Canberra. Canberra last won back-to-back games against Manly in 2016. I'm going to go with Manly. I don't.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't see that Canberra's done much to improve their squad.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say Manly have either, but I'd say Manly's probably got a better halves combination at this stage, given they've got a halfback and Canberra doesn't.
I'm going to go for the Raiders. There was only really one team I watched in the trials where I was like, oh, that's bad. And it was the Manly Seagulls.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good. It was like, and it wasn't like their reserve graders out there. It was like, it's like they were missing a couple of players, but damn, it was bad. You know, when you watch a preseason game, you're like, ooh, this is not good.
Yeah, that's basically been me watching all the West Tigers preseason games the last few years. You know, it's going to be one of those years again, is it?
And then the last game of the round is the Dolphins hosting the your beloved South Sydney Rabbitohs.
South Sydney Bunnies. South have won just 4 of their last 18 games played outside of Sydney, and they've conceded 31 points per game in those 18 games. They've lost all of their last 6 games in Brisbane, conceding at least 28 points every time and averaging 38.7 conceded.
They're up against attack and powerhouse and the Dolphins too. So, I've tipped the Dolphins, but I think the Rabbitohs are actually going to go pretty good in this game. I think Wayne Bennett's going to get them. I don't think they'll make the finals, but I think that Wayne Bennett's going to have them playing some games where they're pretty tough to beat.
I am legit torn on this one. I don't know which way this is going to go. I will side with Dolphins just because they are so much stronger when they're playing in Queensland than when they're not.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll side with them there, but I would not be surprised if South won this. But my God, they've got a lot of players in their side this year. Need to pull their fucking arms out of their ass if they're going to do anything, because they've got a great team on paper.
They have to make the Dolphins have to make the finals this year.
Oh, absolutely.
They have to, because especially after the way they capitulated last year towards getting that run into the finals, they just have to make it.
Yep.
And if they don't make it this year, you got to start looking at what's going wrong. It's not that they haven't got one of the best halfbacks in the game. They've got a pretty good forward pack. Their depth is still a problem, but they just have to. They have to make the finals, and it has to start here. They have to start winning early, get a good amount of points in the bank, and finish it off.
100% agree. Well, there we go. There's your footy tips, people. Did we agree on everything? No, we didn't. I picked Manly.
Yeah, you picked Manly. So it's going to be interesting. I will put the link for the footy tipping comp in the description of this episode. So just click that link. Everyone's welcome. You can still join it. You might have missed a couple of tips here and there, but you
still beat me.
Yeah. Have you joined up to the tipping comp yet?
Yeah. I think I did it the other day, and I put my tips in for round 1, so I haven't done the whole season yet.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I should.
Look, it doesn't matter, Andrew. It doesn't matter.
I've got a system that I've been working on in the off season, and I'm going to try it this year to see how it goes.
Okay, yeah, might as well.
Yeah, it'll still fail, but let's see what happens. Then at least I've got an excuse. I can blame the system, not me being shit at tipping.
I was testing the system.
Yeah, it's a work in progress all the way through.
Yeah,
I'll eventually create a system that beats the betting markets.
That would be handy.
That's the plan.
Yeah. Then you start putting it on the betting markets, and all of the betting agencies start getting you off their system.
That's right.
Yeah, it'd be great.
And then I just sell the system to everybody else.
Yeah.
And then I shut down gambling altogether.
Then gambling finishes.
Yeah.
And it's over.
I just be named the hero of saved world sport from gambling.
Then they'll have to go back to cigarette sponsorship.
Yeah.
Those were the good old days, hey?
Absolutely. No one died from smoking.
Never hurt anyone.
Didn't cause anyone any any addiction issues.
Helped your constitution.
That's right. See, unlike gambling. So yeah, I'll get rid of gambling. Any gambling companies out there that want to be our sponsor, get in touch. That's a spiel. All right, we'll wrap this baby up, and we'll send everyone off to bed, unless of course they've got up and they're going to work. Go to bed anyway. Exactly.
I hope everyone enjoyed listening. We'll be doing weekly episodes, and then maybe even some in between. We'll see.
Yes, and I get asked all the time. We are working on history episodes. There's a big one coming up, another one on English Rugby League, more recent history. And we've got a guest lined up for that one as well to get us through that. So we are working on that one in the background. There's a few others I've got, I'm doing a bit of work on as well. So unlike in the past when we did history episodes, we just did like a small thing and just went from there. I think I've started getting to this area where I think I just want to go and look at something really in depth and really big, and it takes a lot more time to do, but we're all learning something at the same time instead of just rehashing something somebody else has written. So it's a bit more unique and a bit more exclusive for you guys listening.
And while he's been doing that, I've just been thinking of ways to bag the Poms.
Yeah. Well, you've also been doing podcasting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when I haven't.
Yeah.
Just sends me a message every now and then. Are you still alive? Yeah. I'll get on there soon. Don't worry about it. What time? 9:30. And then at 9:45. Yeah, can we do this some other day? Oh, fuck, I knew we'd do that. Every week, Andrew. Every week.
It's all right. We get it done.
We get there eventually. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Make sure you check us out on all the socials, and we will catch us all next time.